few years has been its ability to show its connection and willingness to learn about Indigenous history and Indigenous culture. What we normally do when we have functions here at Lilydale is welcome people to the land. What we're standing on, if we take away all the bricks and mortar and the things that we know represent modern society, is traditional Wurundjeri land. If you will take a quick look out the back, there's a sculpture that's been created by a New Zealand sculptor called Chris Booth. And that sculpture represents two of the Moiety symbols of the Wurundjeri people. The big rock in the middle represents Bunjil, the creator spirit. The one who looks after us, the one who flies overhead, is embodied by the wedge-tailed eagle now. And a few months ago, we did some interviews here for an Indigenous Studies lecturer, and when we finished those interviews, we looked out the window and three wedge-tailed eagles were flying overhead, telling us that we'd done the right thing. The two or the three tall sculptures out there represent Wā, the black raven. Now Wā is very prominent here. This morning when I got out of my car, Wā was sitting on top of the satellite dish, again showing that this is Wurundjeri country and that we're very welcome here. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. An acknowledgement is done by people who aren't considered elders, so look beyond the slightly greying hair that's caused by a lot of stress. And I'm not considered an elder, but it's an honour to have been given permission by some elders, local elders, to acknowledge that we are on Wurundjeri country. A full welcome is usually done by an elder, and what it does is welcome everybody to the land that we are on. Quite often at these ceremonies too, a gum leaf is handed out to each person, and that gum leaf signifies that you are welcome to everything on the land that you are on, from the top of the trees to the roots in the soil. That welcome comes with rights and responsibilities to that land. One of the things I say to my students now is if you were born in Australia, you were born on what was traditional land belonging to a group of people. That means that you have certain rights and responsibilities to that land. The connection to that land is something that we need to fight for. You always should show and acknowledge the connection to the land that you are on. That's what made Indigenous cultures in Australia sustainable for over 60,000 years. That's what keeps us going today in modern society. Despite all the changes that are going on around us, we maintain that strong connection with the land. So with that, I'd just like to say, again, with thanks to permission from elders, Wurundjeri Alwa-Minjaka-Yimin-Kundibe, which means the Wurundjeri people welcome you to this land today. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. All right, we'll keep moving. Our next speaker is the President of the Swinburne Student Union, Mark Bryars. Like me, a student, and like many others here, a student of Swinburne, and I'll welcome him to the stage.
There we go. Thanks everyone. I'm Mark. I'm from the Swinburne Student Union. I just want to thank you all for coming out today. It's great to see so much support for this. Now, the thing we've got to remember here is this was Swinburne's decision. Swinburne are walking away from this great community we have out here. We've all got fond memories. We love this place. And for Swinburne to walk away from Lilydale, they're also taking university education out of the east. And I'm here to say that we're not going to stand for that. That we're here to make sure that every student on this campus gets their rights looked after, that they're consulted about the things that, the issues that affect them and the things that influence their life. The Swinburne Student Union has a proud history of defending students, and I'm here to say that we are not going to stand idly by. We're here to defend every student on this campus and every student potential in the future that wants an education, that wants a leg up in life. We're not going to leave them behind. So make sure you get on board with us and save the students of this campus. Thank you.
At the moment, many won't be able to do it, but at the back there's a table tennis table and there's petitions and contact sheets, which we'll talk about later, which you can take a small action today and further action down the track. The next speaker is a member of the coalition group that fought to establish this campus at Swinburne. Not that long ago, 20 years ago, there was a great fight to win an outer eastern campus. So I'm going to welcome Peter Harris to come up and say a few words as well.
It's wonderful to see such a large rally. 20 years ago we had a number about like this. We met in a situation like this at the Shire of Lilydale, 200 people, where all the community said, we want a university here in our local area. Now, over 5 years, there was a coalition of community interests. All the schools, all the politicians of both parties, all the local council, the businesses from Sweps down that end to a Domain Shandon at the other end, all gathered together to push, first of all, the Labor government and then the Kennett government into establishing a university here. And as you know, at this very spot I'm standing in 1997, Phil Honeywood opened the university and Dick Pratt was the Vice-Chancellor, the Chancellor standing right next door and said, we have made it. And we in the community said, we are really pleased we made it. Why did we want it? We wanted it because the information showed that the reticulation or the articulation rates to the universities from this area was lower than the western suburbs, that the retention was lower, the transport was a very big issue about going, and there was a great need for training places in the area. Now my view is this is still the argument. This is still the argument. And we need to remind Swinburne that after the Dorking reforms, when universities were being established out of the CAE, Swinburne wanted to go alone, and they are only able to go alone because they committed themselves to this particular campus here in Lilydale. And if you go up to the office upstairs, because the original idea was the Vice-Chancellor was going to be in it. Now, he never quite made it, but it was going to be very, very important. And I believe that there was a community agreement between the university and all of us in the local community that Swinburne would deliver a seamless education. And they took over, of course, the Outer Eastern College of TAFE in the process. So I'm standing here to say the argument remains. The community want this. And that as a community we will all gather together in a bipartisan sort of way and say to the university, or the government, or the educational providers who may do it, we intend to stick with the idea of a university in this area. We are not giving up. We will not be pushed aside. This is a great thing for our community, for our students, a matter of social justice and equity, as well as giving some intellectual sort of discussion here in the community. So, it's wonderful to see a rally again to keep this university in place. And I don't even doubt for one moment that this university is going to thrive even better into the future. And by golly, we in the community are going to do everything to support it. Thank you.
For those rousing words. Our next speaker is the State Secretary of the AEU, the Australian Education Union, fighting a very, very difficult battle across the sector in restoring the funding that's been stripped out of TAFEs and which has had this disastrous impact on our university and the community here at Lilydale. So with no further ado, I invite Mary Lloyd to the stage.
Sorry, I'm the president. If you got back to him, I'd correct that.
Microphone.
Okay, look, I'll lift the voice because the microphone is. Thank you. Look, we shouldn't have to be here today, and whilst certainly it is Swinburne's decision that they've decided to act against this particular campus, what I want to do is to remind people why we are here today. And the reason ultimately we are here today is because this state Labor government decided to slash $300 million out of TAFE to fund a budget overrun caused by private providers, and instead they're punishing TAFE students and TAFE institutes for the excesses of the profits of those private providers. We shouldn't have to be here. The system of funding, the open slather arrangements that are in place at the moment are wrong. It was wrong when it was first introduced by the previous government. This mob got elected saying that they would claw back those changes, that they would invest in public pay, and what we have seen since their election is broken promise after broken promise, but this one is of enormous significance to the hundreds of thousands of students year in, year out who rely on TAFE for a pathway to employment, to participation in community and to a decent future. And that's what they are robbing us of. And the closure of this campus, the impact I know both from students in terms of teachers, 120 teachers will be made redundant. A further 100 contract teachers will not have their contract renewed, and many sessional teachers will not find work here either. And the impact on students is that, as previous speakers have said, you will be robbed of a local pathway. The secondary principals from Hillsville and surrounds here in Lilydale are very fearful because for a lot of their students, they counsel them into pathways for which this is the centre, because many of those students will not travel into Melbourne, cannot travel to the likes of Chisholm and other areas. This campus is needed. It's needed for local community. But going back to what I said before, we have to shoot home to this state government that the TAFE cuts are wrong. They've got to invest in public TAFE, and I want everybody to know August 16, 12 noon at Parliament House. There will be a major rally to defend TAFE, to provide TAFE students with the access to their pathways, and I want everybody who is here today to commit to August 16 and to bring 10 of your best mates who also value the importance of public TAFE in this state. Thank you.